So 12 of the biggest teams in Europe have announced their intention to create their own European Super League. This is a bold move that challenges a long-standing history of European football, and this could change the financial and competitive landscape of the game for decades to come. In this video, we will try to understand why this happened. What are the reasons these big clubs felt the need to move away from this conventional format? Before we move any further, I want to make one thing clear. I'm not trying to advocate for any clubs here. I'm simply trying to put forward the facts and the reasoning behind why these clubs wanted this sort of a move. The news of the breakaway league has been met by outrage across Europe, with many of the Italian newspapers calling it the bonfire of greed, and the Spanish newspapers calling it a war against football. The ESL, however, claims that it would generate more money than the current UEFA Champions League and be able to distribute it across the football pyramid evenly. On the other hand, we have sports bodies like FIFA and UEFA saying that they will remain united and make sure that the ESL doesn't move forward. In fact, the UEFA president has warned clubs that creating this breakaway league could result in players being banned from major competitions. He's also gone ahead and said that players may be prevented from playing in the FIFA World Cup in the future. An extreme backlash against the Super League was always expected. And yet, the big teams have gone ahead and pursued this plan of action. So let's look at the reasons why. Freedom and flexibility. Currently, Europe's top clubs compete in the UEFA Champions League, an annual tournament organized by UEFA that features the champions and best clubs from across the continent, depending on where they have finished their domestic leagues the season before. The Champions League is a huge moneymaker, and Europe's wealthiest clubs feel that they are primarily responsible for the creation of this wealth. And because of that, they want a bigger say in the commercial rights and how the profits are divided up. The bigger clubs have also tried to get UEFA to ease the financial fair play regulations, but exactly the opposite happened. UEFA significantly tightened the strings on player transfers and financial fair play. Now the thing is, most of these clubs are run by wealthy businessmen that usually have more than one business. So they want the freedom to operate each business on its own and transfer funds between businesses if required. But UEFA's financial fair play rules do not allow this. But the club owners have made it clear that in order to sometimes fund player transfers, they would like the right to repatriate funds from one business to the other. The big clubs have also tried to bring in new technology in football. They have asked for goal line technology, player tracking systems, and even VAR long before it was actually established. Basically, the philosophy has become, if we are the biggest teams in the competition, our voice needs to be heard and taken more seriously. The big teams want freedom and flexibility to operate and the ability to make quick decisions amongst themselves, something that was clearly missing with the current UEFA governance system. Creating an investable company. Football clubs have a very peculiar problem. The chief executives of each club don't know what budget they will be working on until the season is finished. And at the end of the season, their budget for next year could be 50 million or 500 million, depending on their league standing, TV rights, sponsorships, etc. This is not only impossible to manage, it creates a lot of financial difficulty. Businesses with steady revenues are worth a lot more than businesses with volatile revenues. Hence, football clubs are not very investable. Even though football clubs can claim that they're on a growth trajectory, this volatility means that they're always going to be a big risk. But if you can be guaranteed a minimum of 200 million euros per year just to participate in a competition, that reduces your volatility significantly and makes your club investable. And that's exactly what big clubs want. They have big players earning big wages, and a lot of the clubs are in significant amount of debt. So creating this stable cash flow will let them become investable again and bring in a lot of outside money. Choice of schedule. The UEFA Super League will have 20 teams participating. The 12 founding members plus 3 unnamed clubs. They will also open the doors to 5 qualifiers that will be chosen depending on their league standings every season. Under this proposal, the ESL would start in August every year with midweek fixtures, and the clubs will be divided into 2 groups of 10. The top 3 in each group would qualify for a knockout stage, with teams in 4th and 5th having a playoff to determine the 7th and 8th teams. And following that, there will be a regular quarterfinal, semi-final and final. Another point to note is that the chairman of the Super League right now is Mr. Florentino Perez. He is supported by 2 vice chairmen in the form of Andrea Agnelli from Juventus and Joel Glazer from Manchester United. Now, because of the clubs having a seat at the table and calling all the shots, they have specifically picked this league-based structure since it provides maximum flexibility of schedule. They will be able to choose their midweek fixtures based on the games in the previous and the next week in their domestic schedules. You hear club managers complaining all the time that they did not have enough time between the previous fixture and the next fixture. And this can be avoided with this sort of a format, where the clubs themselves decide when they want to play. You could have games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or even Friday, depending on how much rest each of the clubs may need before and after each game. Clubs could even mutually decide exactly when they would prefer playing each other, and the fixtures could be decided based on such comfort. Preservation of the football pyramid. Football revenues have been hit really hard by the COVID pandemic, with disrupted fixtures and lack of spectators. The big clubs have had lower revenues this past year versus the year before, and most of them are in considerable debt. They also have superstar players with multi-million-dollar salaries to be paid. The founding clubs are therefore being enticed with a share of a 3.5 billion euro grant provided by JP Morgan. The ESL argues that it will provide significantly more value and significantly greater economic growth to the entire European football pyramid. Now, even though UEFA had proposed a 36-team Champions League structure starting next season, the 12 sides involved in the European Super League didn't think that was enough. Moreover, they said that the pandemic had greatly accelerated the instability in the global football economic model. So the estimated earnings for the team signing up for the Super League is at least $425 million per year. And this amount means that each team that is participating in the league, or at least the founding members, are guaranteed this $425 million package. Now think about this. You're playing in a competition, you don't know where you're going to finish, but you're guaranteed this amount of money. No threat of dropping out of the league, no relegation, no risk of losing out on that value. Just ask Leeds United and Newcastle United how they feel about this, since they've been 2 of the top clubs in England over the past 20 odd years, and they have been relegated. This takes a big hit on the finances, and having the ability to mitigate this sort of a risk is exactly what the club owners want. TV rights. In addition to the guaranteed revenue that each of the clubs will be given, there will most definitely be a TV rights component to it. This hasn't been discussed in the media yet with specific numbers, but if you're a sports network, would you want to have exclusive rights on the European Super League with big teams and big players playing every week? Or would you want to put your money in the English Premier League, where these big teams may or may not even play? The drama and the excitement are just not there in the domestic leagues anymore without these big teams. Think about Leicester City winning the English Premier League in 2015-2016 without the Big Six being there. It wouldn't have been as special, and it wouldn't have been such a great story. In fact, most of the fun in that campaign was when Leicester City beat Manchester United in a couple of games and Jamie Vardy went on that brilliant scoring run of consecutive games. The TV rights always follow the big clubs and the big action, and it seems like that action is moving to the European Super League. So the clubs will not only have the guaranteed amount that JP Morgan is promising, but they will have a huge TV rights deal that could be split amongst themselves. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know if you think there are other reasons why the clubs are moving ahead with the European Super League. Thanks for watching.